Penny Skelton Show. My guests, multiple guests over the next hour, will be 3 of the mayoral candidates for the town of Wasaga Beach. Unfortunately, Brian Smith was not able to join us today, and it was last minute notice, so we're not able to get another taping time to be able to include him. So it just means our 3 who are here will get a little more time. And I'm pleased to start with the current mayor of Wasaga Beach, Nina Bifolchi. Welcome.
Thank you, Penny. It's nice to see you again.
So, you got competition this time. More competition.
I do.
There are 4 people running for mayor. What's the inspiration? You've done such a great job.
I think our council has done a great job. We've accomplished everything that, all the priorities that we set at the beginning of the term, so we feel pretty good about that.
Okay. So first and foremost, thank you for putting your name back in the hat. I think everybody needs to be thanked, particularly for municipal politics, because this is the, as they say, where the rubber meets the road. This is the most basic type of politics where you could meet people either in your grocery store or your liquor store, and they want to talk to you. So thank you for putting your name forward. Would you share with our viewing audience 2 specific skills or experiences that you've had that make you the best person to vote for the next mayor of Wasaga Beach?
Okay, I have 16 years experience on Wasaga Beach Town Council, 8 as a council member, 4 as deputy mayor, and 4 as mayor. I also have 8 years at county council. I come from an entrepreneurial family, and work hard is our motto, and get things done. So that has got us through.
Interesting. And when you mention, to begin with, that you've accomplished everything that you set out to, what sort of things have you accomplished in the last 4 years?
So at the beginning of each term, we look at the priorities or the campaign pledges from each of the successful candidates, and we come up with a list of priorities. So that's everything from redevelopment of the beachfront, which we now have 2 well-known developers who are going to be moving forward with that. We have our arena and library started, our casinos under construction, and residential's through the roof in Wasaga.
Now remind me, where is the casino?
That is at the west end by the roundabout.
By the roundabout. So that's what I see being built as I just start into the beach. And what's the target for finishing that?
I think they hope to be open within a month.
Oh, very soon.
Yep.
Very soon. So about the time somebody gets elected mayor.
That's right.
Can cut a new ribbon.
Ribbon.
That's kind of fun. So if we sort of shift gears and look forward, on day 1 as mayor, what are some of your priorities for the next council and things to accomplish?
Okay, day 1 we have to look at next year's budget. That will be the number 1 thing to get going, so staff have direction and they can start. But we will put that priority list together, and that will set the course for the next 4 years. And
sounds very collaborative.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled with this term's council. We all work together, and we set our goals, and we met them.
Nice. I mean, you've accomplished a lot in a 4-year term. I find it interesting because if I compare it to the town of Blue Mountains when I've chatted with them and town of Collingwood, you seem to have accomplished a lot more as a council than other area councils have.
COVID, I think the COVID years absolutely put a wrench in some people.
More than half your term.
It really is, but we have some awesome staff, and everybody was dedicated, and we just kept working. We just kept moving through. We put our protections in place so that we could be at the office, and as a team, we really worked together.
Did anybody ever work from home at any point?
Yeah, in the very beginning, there was some accommodation made for that, but within their workspaces, we revamped areas and made sure that they felt safe in those areas, and we kept
And everybody
working.
stayed at work.
Everybody stayed at work.
Interesting. Yeah. So tell me how, because you'll know facts and figures, your casino and your library rink project, what sort of construction numbers are those?
So the casino is separate from the arena and library.
Right.
So the arena and library and walking track. I don't want to forget the walking track.
Oh, you're putting in a walk. Okay.
There's a walking track. So that's $59 million.
Okay.
We are on budget. We are on track. Despite the rumors out there that it's going to be 70, it is $59 million, and we're meeting those numbers. The casino, I don't have the construction numbers, but we look forward to the revenue that will come from that, and we'll be able to do projects in the community.
Well, revenue and employment.
Absolutely. There was 140 positions created.
Wow. That'll be a big impact.
It will be great, yes.
And it will be a real slightly different type of tourism draw.
Absolutely. Yep. And with our new arena, we have 2 NHL-sized rinks.
Okay.
So one has 800 seats or over 800 seats.
Okay.
We'll be able to host bigger events. We can have concerts. We can use seating on the rink surface. So it'll be a great facility.
And you can do definitely tournaments, because with
Absolutely.
2 rinks, it's a
Yes.
pretty exciting project.
It's very exciting, and we've been watching the steel go up, and it's exciting.
So is that funded solely by the town, or have we got other levels involved in?
At this point, we don't have any other levels. It's
This is a major town of Wasaga Beach commitment to
It
the
is, but
recreation.
our old one is falling over.
Yeah.
We need it, and unfortunately,
It has a certain nostalgia.
yes, and we'll decide what happens with it down the road. But we're one of those municipalities that are in great financial shape, and unfortunately, when you go for that grant funding from other levels, they kind of pass you by and give it to those who maybe weren't
able to
Right.
manage their money properly and have any to kickstart a project.
Yes.
Okay, what do you find, or do you, looking forward through our little crystal ball here, what do you think are the major challenges ahead for the next council?
Honestly, everything's on a really good track.
Okay.
Our projects are on time, on budget, and we're moving forward. We'll always look at roads and bridges and all of those things. It's I would have to say it's the misinformation, and that has been something we've been dealing with for years now. And the misinformation out in the community is causing neighbors to fight over things that they shouldn't be fighting over.
Which I find interesting, considering I know we as Rogers tape your shows, tape your council, and you're able to watch them online.
Yeah.
And I mean, that has always been the place I go for information, as opposed to the coffee shop.
Yeah, and it's not just the coffee shop anymore. It is social media, and people throw things out there. It doesn't have to have any truth to it, but all of a sudden everybody starts repeating it, and then that becomes people's truth. So the town has created Truth Corner. Unfortunately, we had to because of how much misinformation was out there, just to keep the public up to date. So we encourage people to sign up for our newsletters, to check the website.
Does the town have a Facebook page? I didn't look at that.
There is a Facebook page. Again, it's a small group of individuals who like to go on and they like to continue to spread misinformation. So we have changed it that for now, the commenting has been turned off. We use it as an information tool to make sure people have access to it. If they want to write their negativity, take it to your own site. Now,
do you have somebody within Town Hall who manages that information?
There are several staff members who are administrators, yes.
Okay, interesting. Because it's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
And as we all know, I mean, I've always called elections the silly season.
Absolutely.
And things can go smoothly. Things can go very badly. But Wasaga Beach has had a lot of interest, not only in the mayor's position, the deputy mayor's position, and your council position.
Absolutely.
And you got some rebounders and you got some newbies.
We do.
Just like, it's interesting that it's almost a trend, not only in Ontario, but definitely South Georgian Bay.
Yeah.
It's Wasaga Beach, it's Collingwood. I mean, in Collingwood, there's one man running for council who's moved up here during COVID.
Oh, that's really new.
That's as I said to him, you're a real keener.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting to see that he's looking at it going, this is a really great place and I want to get involved.
And it's great that that is happening, because honestly, politics has changed ever since social media, and there is a lot more hate and harassment and all of these things. I could probably
do several shows on social media.
Absolutely.
Because it's always fascinating to see what sparks something.
Yes.
But as you say, then many different varying opinions come out, and there's a boldness that happens with social media where people think they can say whatever they think.
They follow you, they take pictures of your house, they post it, they just make all kinds of things up.
Whereas, honestly, a newspaper person couldn't do that.
A legitimate newspaper that follows journalistic standards, absolutely. We do have
because
one
they're two little words,
doesn't.
slander and libel.
That's right. But we have a publication in Wasaga Beach who doesn't follow those standards, and it's full and it's in people's mailboxes, and it is confusing people.
So you've had your all candidates meetings.
Yes.
Voting is starting to take place soon.
Actually, our online started on Monday.
On Monday, okay. So we're up and running. Maybe the election's over?
Okay.
No, but that's what I always say. Once we move to internet or telephone voting,
Yeah.
you don't have a clue when people have done it.
That's right. Yeah.
So staff are all geared up for election night to be able to come out with the results.
And they are.
Quickly?
They are, yes.
That's always a challenge when you go to internet or phone voting, either one,
Yeah.
because you think it's just a flip of a switch and we've got it all, but there's a bit more that goes into it.
No, I think they're organized and they will be ready shortly after
Yeah.
closing.
So other than the completion of the projects that you currently have on the go, what's Wasaga Beach's position on the hospital?
We're very supportive of a new hospital coming to the area. We know it will be located in Collingwood in either location, but absolutely 100% behind it.
Nice.
We need this for our area.
The one thing I'm hearing from so many people as I've been doing these shows is we need, and the word they stress is a new. I think the retrofit idea is almost out the window because of the way the world is just working. We need...
And I'm glad to hear that. I think we do need a new proper facility to try and shoehorn it in on an old site. Just doesn't make sense.
But also what I've heard, because of the physical structure of the current hospital, with medicine today, we need wider doors.
Right.
We need bigger rooms or smaller rooms if they're all going private. All sorts
Standards
of
have
different things.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you anticipate the beach taking on, other than completing the projects you've got, taking on any other projects in the next 4 years? What are your needs? And wants?
I think we're still, we'll have to look at that and see after the election, but there's still Beach Area 2 that the town owns a portion of. And, I'd like to go out to the public and say, for the residents, what do you see here?
Yeah.
What do you want to enjoy in that area? So there's things like that we'll do. Events, we have something on our website now. We want to hear input as to what the residents want to have in our community.
Nice. Now, you did mention, I think around the first question I asked, that you've got some developers interested in developing down along the waterfront.
Absolutely. So we do have a signed purchase and sale agreement.
Okay.
And we're in the middle of a 120-day due diligence period where they're boring holes, they're checking soils, they're doing all of that. And we hope to have a development agreement done in the near future with them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then what will the beach look like?
It will be, and I'm glad you asked that, because there's rumors out there about a wall of condos and things. That is not the case. There will always be public access to the area. There will be outdoor spaces, Festival Square. The buildings are turned sideways so that you can always get that view of the water. Main floor will be commercial with the residential component above. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, with a brand new promenade out front. It will be beautiful.
Interesting. And it's sort of like the potential that Wasaga Beach has always had.
Yes, and we finally, I believe, have the right people to make that happen.
Interesting. And are you allowed to say who they are?
Yes, it's the company is called Bay Lock, but it's Nick Falvo and the Cortolucci family.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Who probably have long loved Wasaga Beach.
They have been in Wasaga Beach for decades. They are invested in our community. They know the community, and they want to build something great.
Interesting. Interesting. So we're a few weeks away from October 24th. How are you feeling about the election now?
This is my 5th election, and I don't speculate or try to decide until the moment I hear it. It's I will wait and see.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I'm getting lots of great feedback, but I'm never so arrogant to think that I don't have to worry.
Now, I know Collingwood has a restriction on signs. I did have the occasion to drive through the beach.
Yes.
There are a lot of signs all over the beach. Have you ever considered putting restrictions on?
We did actually just change it after the last election. You can no longer put it on municipal property. It has to be on private property.
Oh, on private property. Okay.
Again, signs.
But you don't
signs
restrict numbers?
No, as long as it's on private property and not municipal land, then it's okay.
Do you have a sticker system? Some municipalities have a sticker system.
We had a sticker system when we were allowed to put on municipal property. So that's gone.
So then that was the restricted numbers that were able to go onto municipal property. Because the beach has the challenge of the physical.
It's very long.
Size, long. It's long and skinny, as we say. So I don't know if that in my mind as I'm driving through. That's why I keep seeing the repetition.
Yeah, and I think just with some of the negativity and going on in our community and. After the last election, the former Mayor Smith held a meeting and told people to get their pitchforks and hatchets out, and that was on CTV News, and some people took that to heart. And there are people this time who don't want to put a sign up. They'll say, we support you wholeheartedly, but we want to get along with our neighbors after. So we totally understand that. You know, you want neighborhoods to not be fighting over an election every 4 years and then it
There's
carry on.
absolutely nothing wrong with supporting a candidate, however you wish.
Yep, that's right.
However you wish. But I think, unfortunately, the beach has got the reputation that it's been a bit of a messy election, period.
Yes,
So
hopefully.
it's kind of nice that it hasn't been all year.
Exactly.
Like the good old days from January 1st.
Well, hopefully that will end, regardless of the outcome, that will end come the election.
Well, no matter what, come October 24th, you will have a new council in Wasaga Beach.
Right.
You may have some new faces. Well, you will have some new faces. And it will become very interesting to see who's around the table come the 25th.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Nina, I'm going to give you an opportunity of maybe about a minute's worth to just tell me why you personally want to be mayor of Wasaga Beach.
I love the community. I think we've accomplished some great things this past term of council, and I want to see them through to fruition. We are on a really great path. Our development that is happening is now at a population where we can start supporting really good restaurants and things like that in the past has been a challenge. So I just want to see us continue to move forward.
Well, you've definitely, certainly in the time that you've been on council, morphed from being more of a couple of season resort area to a full-time community with everything that you have to offer.
Yes, we have.
It's fascinating to me. Wow. So, why, I'm trying to think of how to ask this. Why has social media blossomed in the beach?
It started during the 2014 election, and it's just kind of skyrocketed from there.
Okay.
It's the platform some people use to spread the misinformation.
Interesting. And that has to be a challenge for your IT and your communications people to try and...
Absolutely.
It's kind of like sometimes playing whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole. Yeah. You can't address everything by any means, but there's been some big issues that, in my opinion, were meant to fool the public, and we haven't.
Remember my finger? We've run out of time.
Oh,
good luck on the 24th. All the best in your run for mayor.
Thank you very much.
Join us when we come back after the break, and we'll be talking to Giorgio Mameliti.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details. On Rogers TV, we have a reality show like no other. It has a great cast of characters. Some you may have even helped land the role. Each episode has something different. Plans are devised, decisions are made, votes are cast, and money is spent. It's local reality TV that you won't want to miss. And it's exclusive to Rogers cable customers. Catch your municipal council coverage on Rogers TV. Visit RogersTV.com for broadcast details.
Welcome back. Now I'm in conversation with another mayoral candidate for the town of Wasaga Beach, and that's Giorgio Mameliti. And this is someone I've never spoken to before, so this should be a really fun segment to do. Welcome, Giorgio.
Thank you so much for having me, Penny.
So why Wasaga Beach? Why mayor?
I wanted to retire up here, you know, from the age of of 10 years old, I can remember myself saying, this is where I want to end up.
Did you always have a family cottage or come to a cottage or one of the resorts?
Well, my parents loved to rent from Devlin cottages back when I was a kid, and we did it regularly for 2 months every summer. And I just loved it growing up. I loved it as a teenager, showing my cars off and bringing dates up here. You know, I loved bringing my children up here as they were growing up. And now I bought a house 13 years ago, and I'm living and retired up here for the last 4 years.
Now, do you have the next generation? Do we have grandchildren that come up yet?
I have 5 grandchildren.
Nice.
And I have a son who's running in my old spot in Toronto, actually, for councillor.
And before we came on the air, we sort of said you're the inverted pyramid. You started at Queen's Park.
I did.
Then you went to major city
I did.
politics, and now you're in small town politics.
I did. I started my career at the age of 28 years old. I got elected onto the legislature. Learned a lot. I was parliamentary assistant.
Yeah, that's one where you really don't get training for that one.
No, you're just thrown right in, and you know, I was lucky enough to hold the positions of parliamentary assistant to 3 different ministers, one being health, the other being corrections, and the minister responsible for the anti-drug strategy as well. And that led me into a whole new world. I loved it very much. But I wasn't so keen on the party politics. So when I got an opportunity to go to municipal, I jumped at it. And, and that was in 1995 when I then got elected on with Mel Lastman at the time. I spent some years with him and the council, North York Council, and then the megacity was born. And I jumped right into the megacity, and I was there. It was almost a 30-year career in politics. I've been a very fortunate man.
And now in retirement.
Now in so-called retirement.
So-called, Well, people don't really retire anymore. That's the other thing. Well, for the majority that come up here, they don't just retire.
I mean, it's easy to do in Wasaga Beach. It's easy to just kind of lose yourself on the beach and that wonderful sunset that we have. But I'm not ready for full retirement, but I do have all the time in the world to give Wasaga Beach as their mayor. I don't have a business on the side, contrary to maybe some of them that are running, actually all of them that are running against me, I don't want to give a part-time job to this. I want to give a full-time job because I think that's needed. So, you've just answered my question as to why you're running for the mayor of Wasaga Beach. Well, there's more to it than that.
Oh, there's more to it. Okay. Before we get to that, we'll come back to that one. Would you share either a couple of specific skills or experiences that you think would make you the best candidate?
Wasaga Beach is in a bit of turmoil, I think. I think this election is very pivotal. I actually think that this election is one of the most important elections that Wasaga Beach will ever have, or has ever had. And the reason for that is because of the fact that 3 of the candidates that are running for mayor want to sell Beach 1 off and want to build condos. And I think the majority of Wasaga Beach do not want those condos there and want to keep it taxpayer owned.
So not sell property.
And that's the message I am getting regularly at the door. And so my platform is I'm going to stop the condos on Beach 1. I know how to do that. Planning is something that I have thrived my whole career in doing. In Toronto, for instance, I took my community that was at risk 20 years ago and revamped it. And when I say that, I mean revitalized it and had to change all the zoning laws around in different pockets to make sure that we attracted the right developers and the right developments in the corridors. And now it's thriving. It's an economic kind of boom that seems to be going on, especially along the Western Road corridor. And so I think that I bring this value to Wasaga Beach at a time when they need it the most.
So if not condos, what is your vision of Beach 1?
So I would like to ask you and everyone else to look onto my website, which is giorgioformayor.com. And in it, you'll hear me talk about there's an actual drawing that I made up that speaks to what I would want on Beach 1. I want the flavor of rides and the flavor of candy canes and the flavor of of ice cream and all of the things that we've been used to in a square setting. And then around that, you'll see patios on the inner core of the square, and on the exterior part is all commercial properties as well.
Okay.
I'd like to see us lease the new commercial properties for 40 years, not for 3 years, as it's being done now. And I call them fly-by-night leases at 3 years. You get people not necessarily caring about the property that they've
Or the
leased.
investment they have to put into it in order to...
So a 40-year lease will bring some real serious people to the table. I think I could have a real change, not only in the flavor of Beach One, the activity, the international activity that I want to bring to the beach as well, but I think you're going to see an economic change. I think you're going to see us making money. This public-private partnership that I have planned is nothing but positive, in my opinion. And so with that, I couple that with a plan to twin with many little towns around the world. Twinning arrangements, as you know, are very beneficial to municipalities. Sister cities.
Philosophies, okay.
And if we do that, and I know how to do that because I chaired the committee in Toronto, know the partners around the world. I've done it before, and I'll do it here. And I think that if we can muster up the right flavors around the world, we can actually have a week of international festivities as we go along. Week after week, we could have an Italian week, we can have a Portuguese week, we can have a South Asian week, we can have singers and dancers and the stages set up on the beaches, right? And
you could be the counterbalance to Blue, who do that every weekend.
They do that every weekend, only ours is a different flavor. We've got in my opinion, we've got the best beach, freshwater beach in the world. And we should be showcasing it to the world, right? So I think the twinning arrangement in my platform will do that, you know? And so it's a little different than the rest of the candidates for mayor. They want to sell it off. They want to sell it to condo owners who are going to do nothing but fight with the tourists.
Well, where does Wasaga Beach? And I have to honestly say I don't know the answer to this question. I usually know some answers, but in the official plan world, for your population base, because I know Collingwood is projected to go up to 45,000 in pretty short order.
Yeah.
What's the challenge for the beach?
The challenge for the beach is to find out whether or not the residents actually want to slow this development down a bit. I do.
Okay.
I do.
Because
I think we're growing
rapidly.
way too fast. I don't want to be a city. I helped run the largest city in this country, and I moved up to Wasaga Beach because it's a small town.
Yeah.
And I don't want that small town flavor to disappear. So
that is a balancing act, because
It
Collingwood has been going through it.
Yeah.
And with the massive influx, especially during COVID, the number of people who have said, I like it, but this isn't why I moved here.
Yeah.
Like it's changing the nature. And the beach is another. The one thing I've always loved, the beach has its personality. Collingwood has its.
I'm glad you used the word
mountain.
Personality.
Yeah.
Because by getting rid of that beach the way the others want to do, we're going to lose our personality. We're going to lose it. It's so dangerous. That's why I say this election is more like a referendum. It's either vote for Mammoliti, who wants to stop that, the condos, and keep our personality, or you vote for the rest and sell it off and build condos. And I may add that the people who want to buy the beach will sit on the beach for 30 years. They're going to look at buying up the rest of the beach as well, including the provincial lands. Yeah. So I think you're going to get a very derelict beach for the next 30 years, and I think it's going to look like a third world country if we're not careful.
Interesting. You said I could ask you anything before we came on air. What's your position on lifeguards on the beach?
So my position is this. I think the first thing I want to do is call Doug Ford.
Okay.
And I want to say to him, look, no more finger pointing.
Yeah.
Right? I want to work out a deal with you, a long-term deal with you, where Wasaga Beach is responsible for its beaches and the provincial parks.
Okay.
And so by doing that, we get rid of so many other problems, cleanliness.
Yep.
You know, in the springtime, we're always worried about if there's a piece of paper on the other side of, the street, it's not our problem. It's, so I want to get rid of that. And in that, I want to be able to also negotiate with the private companies that might want to do some sport activities on the beach. This is extra income, you see, instead of the taxpayer always having to pay. We could actually negotiate public-private partnerships so that people have activity on the beach, right?
Yep.
And we give them out as tenders, and we can actually make money. With that, my platform talks about partnering up with a college that will actually train lifeguards on our beach. So I'd like to see one of the local colleges being our partners, training our kids to be lifeguards on lakes. And right, it's a different equation altogether.
The good old, I'm an old lifeguard. That's why I asked the question.
So you get it. It's a different training, right?
And in my day, I took not only my instructors and my examiners, I'm that old, but then we took what was called NLS, National Lifeguard Service, and you either took beachfront or surf.
Right.
So if you lived on the ocean, it was totally different.
Right. It's different training.
Still totally different training, but it is such, I can't think of a summer that's gone by that we haven't lost somebody.
Well, no, we're losing too many people.
We're losing
and
too
you know
many
what?
people.
You know what's worse is that we don't even remember their names. You know, and
That's true.
And we are a town that's almost used to losing people, and we're not crying for them anymore, right? And we should be. And I think that we should be preventing them
often
as well.
it's a visitor.
Well, yeah,
It's not, because day tripping to the beach has
more
become a
often
thing.
Than not. Yeah, and
They're not that aware of what the water is like or what can happen.
Yeah. So in answering your question, I just think that we need to do something, and we need to not worry about liability factors anymore.
Okay.
Let's take the bull by the horns,
Find a
and
way.
let's make sure we make the beach safer for people, people that live here and people that want to visit.
But you're right, that does incorporate using ties to Queen's Park.
Oh no,
because of the
we can't do it without it. I mean,
the municipal private.
Yeah, you've got too many entities.
We only got 5 minutes left. I'm not going to make it through my questions at the rate we're going.
I can come back.
Okay. On day one as mayor, what is your highest priority for the next council?
Stop the condos.
Okay.
Number one.
Yeah, you
Two,
got through a question.
I want to help seniors with their taxes. Everybody's criticizing me on this platform on rebates to taxes. I know the Municipal Act. I know that I could give back to seniors who are struggling in the way of a rebate. I know that I could give to people that have lost their jobs during COVID and can't afford their property taxes.
Yeah.
The Municipal Act speaks to that.
Okay.
That's what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at a possible corruption in this town because there, in my opinion, there is. Everything to me smells from not giving us the truth on the value of lands before the town buys them or sells them, to developers taking over and putting their names on our ice rinks, and all of this smells to me of corruption.
But that's a very common practice.
I am going to do a forensic audit of the town hall books, and that forensic audit will be pointing to certain areas that I feel we should be looking at. And I think we're going to find something. And when we do find something, it'll be the last time that any municipal government in Wasaga Beach will act the way they are acting. We should have learned by Collingwood.
Yes.
You know, we should have learned by...
And saved $10.7 million.
We should have actually taken what the judge had instructed and incorporated in good governance in town hall.
Well, it's interesting. Our current MPP for this area, Brian Saunderson, was the mayor of Collingwood, and he's now parliamentary assistant to Doug Downey.
Yeah.
And one of his things is taking judicial inquiry and applying it further than the municipality.
Everything points to that in Wasaga Beach. When you got former mayors and you've got councillors jetting off to Italy with developers that you're trying to do business with in Wasaga Beach, when you have a local councillor who's actually working for one of those developers in Wasaga Beach, it kind of tells you what's going on behind the scenes. We have to put an end to this. This is a practice that most municipalities across this country have gotten rid of. But in Wasaga Beach, it seems to be okay to turn a blind eye, or to, in this case, ask a developer to pay for a friend's siding on their home, you know, and then to boot supervise the job, right? Okay. That to me is, and using your influence as a councillor to do that is even worse. You know, so we have to point these things out. My campaign has really been about this as well. I think it's important to talk about.
I know Collingwood have it, and I know the town of Blue Mountains have it. Does Wasaga Beach have a code of conduct?
They don't have a code of conduct that makes any sense.
Okay.
And you know what else?
But those are
Wasaga
meant
Beach,
to be living documents.
No, we have to bring true, fair, and proper governance, good governance to the table here. Responsible government. People want to be heard. They want to know why you're making the decisions that you're making, right? They want us to change the bylaws, the procedural bylaws for them to be heard there, right? And so that's what I want to bring. I want to bring a true taste of good governance to Wasaga Beach, right? And
Interesting.
And I can do that. I've got the experience to do that, right? And I want to end the practices of being too close with people that are doing business in Wasaga Beach.
We have maybe 60 seconds left. This time does fly. In your opinion, the one thing I've noticed, Wasaga Beach has a active commentary group on Facebook.
Yes.
A lot of nasty stuff gets said.
Yes.
On many topics, on any topic. And hundreds of people chime in and away it goes. Does that really serve any purpose?
5% of a campaign is social media. I don't even worry about it. At the end of the day, I worry about the health hub that I want to get built out for Wasaga Beach, so seniors have a health hub that they can go to for everything, from tests to seeing a doctor. I want doctors to show up because they're going to get a paycheck. That's been our problem. They
That's
haven't been able to get a
heck of a
paycheck.
note to end on.
Well,
So
no,
other
wait,
than
one
that,
more. I don't
quickly.
want anybody to be paying for any parking fees in municipal parking lots anymore. I want to do away with that. It's time that we take care of the people of Wasaga Beach, take care of our seniors.
Do you know what that is? Those are
sure,
campaign promises, and we have to say, contact George to get more information.
I promise you, I will do my best to fulfill everything that I'm saying.
Thank you for joining me.
No, thank you.
All right.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Join us when we come back, and we'll be talking with Leslie Farkas.
Hi, I'm Lise McCourt, the president of the RVH Auxiliary. Although we can't be there in person right now, the volunteers, the people that you see in the blue vests, continue to raise funds for RVH. We've been a fundraising force for RVH for over 125 years, having raised $12 million in the past 12 years. The Auxiliary continues this work with our most recent pledge of $5 million. All proceeds go to patient care at RVH. Our jackpot draws will be held monthly with early bird prizes for each draw. In our first jackpot draw, the winner took home over $36,000. The early bird prizes include a combination of cash and gift cards supporting local businesses. The Auxiliary raises funds to help ensure that when our loved ones need care, they have the best available right here in our region. So buy your tickets early and don't miss out on your chance to win.
Welcome back from the break. Now I'm sitting in conversation with Leslie, or I call him Les Farkas, for the mayor of Wasaga Beach. So Les, why are you running to become the next mayor of Wasaga Beach?
Well, that's a great question. I personally feel that there's kind of two kinds of people that run for politics, for office. There's people that run for a position. And there's people that run for a purpose. And with my background and experience in aviation, there's some things that I've noticed that I find can be improved. Things like root cause analysis. When something goes wrong, instead of
what happened?
Instead of whose fault or whatever, we look at why did it go wrong, and what can we do to prevent it from happening again?
Or should we do it again?
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in terms of running for mayor and running for office, they're two separate questions. I will say that running for office is something that has been You know, I like many people, I'm watching what's going on.
Okay.
And we hit a wall.
Yes.
Where there's no accountability. The transparency is lacking.
Okay.
It needs improvement, to say the least. And just with my experience with I deal with all three levels of government.
Okay, then maybe we should back up a little bit. You mentioned with my experience in aviation. What do you do as your day job?
I am a commercial aviation owner, so I own a skydive company, a charter company, a sightseeing company, and a flight school.
Okay.
And we are hoping to expand into cargo next year.
Okay.
So basically, I put people in the sky.
Okay.
And sometimes we drop them
just in
out.
case somebody at home doesn't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does he do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So basically, dealing with all three levels of government like that, and seeing the way things work.
And a heavily regulated industry.
Very heavily.
Yeah. Okay.
It's federally. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's only a few of us that are federally regulated.
Yes. Yeah, true.
And we get to jump through some big hoops.
Okay.
But seeing the way things operate, one of the things that I was able to see is that Wasaga Beach has some areas that it can improve on.
Okay.
We've delved away from the policy and kind of got into a personal a little bit, and there's been kind of a loss of focus.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
A loss of focus, and really
a loss of focus and a rise of social media.
You got it, and they both coincide. I mean, they balance on each other. But at the end of the day, we're supposed to be focused on the people. And then I'll go back to the purpose and the position. My purpose is to get the people their voice, to really try to assess certain things. I mean, most people don't know that right now the Code of Conduct, Rule number 9, says, unless prohibited by law, members are required to share their reasoning for their decisions with the public. One change of wording, one word, written. All of a sudden, now we have a tangible, traceable, and we go back to root. That's right, and we can go back to root cause. Again, when a council meeting goes wrong, or a decision goes wrong, and the public's unhappy, we never can find out why. This would give us a tangible, traceable path to figure out why, because if all the councillors cite one specific thing, a staff report or whatever it is, then they kind of have found a cause, and now we know where to say, okay, what went wrong, why did it go wrong, how do we prevent it, right? So what went wrong, why did it go wrong, and we've got those.
Interesting, because it reminds me of the way I feel about, I'm based in Collingwood, and when we read our council minutes, they are so, I'm going to say generic. And I think it's time to put detail back in.
Thank you.
It's my personal bugaboo, I'm going to say.
100%.
And I think every municipality, I know there are legalities, I know there are all sorts, but rationale for things should not be one of those things that's edited out.
I agree, 100%. It's a big part of the puzzle. And then when you mention legalities, this has been a long process, a big decision, obviously. It wasn't a yesterday thing. This is years in the making. And 3 years ago, when we made the official decision, one of the things I've noticed in terms of government is that the bureaucrats tend to have an advantage in process knowledge as opposed to the politicians. But yet, there's supposed to be a check and balance on each other. That's the design of the system. They're supposed to keep each other honest. But how is a politician supposed to keep the bureaucrat honest if they don't know how the system works? So I made a conscious decision to further my knowledge, already dealing with government. I didn't want to be overconfident. I said I want to have the tools in the tool belt to do the job. So I registered to Queen's University to do a 2-year certificate in law program. To brush up on my civics, to brush up on my contractual, to brush up on my union knowledge, you name it. So I mean,
so you've done some pre-training.
I've done some. I've assembled the tools.
Interesting. I'm not sure I've ever heard of someone who wants to go into politics attacking it in that. Not attacking, but approaching it in that manner.
Well,
so it's interesting.
It's more objective, in my opinion. It's more focused on what's important, which is the people. The people
and the community.
That's it. That's what we are, right? So.
Okay, so let's see, where's my on day one as mayor.
Yes.
What will be your highest priority for the next council?
My highest priority for day one for the next council, I guess. There's been a high turnover in Town Hall for the past couple of administrations. The previous one, about 40 some odd town staff out of 130. That's a big number. And this one, 75 plus out of 150-ish.
Wow.
So big numbers. So I think one of the first priorities we have to do is really take a look internally as opposed to externally,
Yep.
and figure out where our problem is,
Yep.
because that kind of turnover can happen. I think getting in contact with the staff through a form of a survey or something to be able to get them to express
Right.
where an issue lies, if there is indeed one, and what can be done to
And
help
is
solve
there a
it.
way towards a resolution?
That's right.
Interesting.
That's right. So I think
That's the first first of the candidates that's brought up something internal,
well,
which is interesting.
yeah, government tends to always
Yeah.
point the finger outwards, and again, I mean,
Well,
I
that's a part of the deflection.
I keep joking that I am what you call the experienced politician's worst nightmare.
Okay.
I'm an experienced resident who really
Yeah.
has a lot of policy knowledge
And a passion.
and a real passion to make a difference.
Okay. What do you see as the next 3 big jobs or priorities for the next council?
Well, there's obviously the beachfront.
Yes.
That is something that's come in. I think one of the big priorities for the incoming council should be to make sure that the public is a little more aware of the process.
Okay.
We've been excluded
Okay.
to a large degree, and I mean, there's a lot of closed session council meetings that are going on that aren't necessarily necessary.
Okay.
The Municipal Act allows a specific prescribed
Parameters.
use. Yeah,
Yes.
these are your parameters.
I think every municipality goes through this phase at one point or
Yes, but you don't
Yeah.
need to use them.
No, true.
That's the thing
True.
is they're there to use, and even again, going back to our code of conduct in Wasaga Beach, it identifies that it's so broad and
Yeah.
says these need to be applied narrowly.
Okay.
So there's an exception that this is really broad, and I personally believe that when it comes to closed session,
Yep.
unless there's a legal ramification. I mean,
Okay.
sometimes, with personnel matters, there's
Yep.
legal issues. With contracts, there's legal issues.
issues.
Negotiations, there's legal. All of those are protected
Yep.
by contract.
Yep.
But things that aren't protected legally, it's our money. We
Yeah.
deserve to know. So
And even it's interesting if it were more open, that would allow people to understand how the decision is being made.
it helps with the unification
Yeah.
of the community.
Yeah.
It's a big step because the why is just as important.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the people will feel a certain way
Yep.
and they want something. If council votes the opposite way,
Yes.
that why will help educate them and solve some of this.
Where they're going and
That's
what's-
right. It will help the headbutting
Because I think it would be safe to say tensions are high in the beach.
it would be safe to say tensions are very high in the beach.
And
They're-
you're that lovely long, I call it the isthmus of Wasaga Beach, that's
Ab-
so stretched out that it reminds me of playing telephone. What they say at this end doesn't say
get to
at
the other
end.
Right, absolutely.
Interesting.
And we need more balance too. I mean, the focus on our community as we're doing that, the way you described that, the one end to the other,
Yeah.
we either seem to be focused on one side
Yeah.
or the other,
Yeah.
and we need to really change that. We need, everybody in Wasaga Beach matters,
Yes.
and they should matter to every single administration that comes in.
So one end of the beach has the new arena
Yep.
and beachfront one.
Yes.
The other end has the
Has the
casino,
casino.
which are 2 interesting bookends.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
let's start with Beach 1.
Well,
Where do you stand on the proposed development, or what do you think should happen?
I think, first of all, no more backward steps. I
Okay.
think Wasaga Beach has done enough backstepping.
Okay.
I think, again, it's about objectivity and perception. So
Okay.
when you look at what we have at the table right now, we have a developer with much means. I mean,
Yeah.
practically a
Yeah.
billionaire, very,
Yeah.
very, very well established developer. And that, if you want to, for all intents and purposes, a developer is just a resource.
Yeah.
And resource isn't good or bad. It's what
Yeah.
you do with it
Yeah.
that's good or bad.
True.
So I think really working with what we have to get what we want
Yeah.
is very important. Because right now we've got something on it, we've got the capability, but the offer that's on the table doesn't look the way the community really wants it to. I mean, there's a big resistance to the private development and all
Right.
of that. And I, to be honest with you, I share their concern. But I think that really when you look at, especially with developers,
Yes.
and you look at what their objective is,
Yep.
making money is on the lower end.
Okay.
Making a mark, making a legacy
Making
is
a
very
legacy, yeah.
important. And I know that it wouldn't take very long to convince any developer that the person who develops the beachfront into what it's supposed to be,
Yeah.
a world-class attraction, family-friendly, they will be in the history books.
Do you see Beach 1 still as a tourist area, as a condo area?
I see it as a tourist area, but I would like to see it as a tourist area that is open and friendly to residents as well.
Okay.
But I certainly see it as a tourist area. It's part of the economic engine that's been driving our community for a long time.
For many, many years.
So to turn that off would be a mistake in my opinion.
Interesting. So the other end, what do we know of the casino? When might it open?
Well, it's
going to be a good employer.
It is going to be a good employer. And again, it's a resource.
Yeah.
Not good or bad. It's what we do with it.
Yeah.
So today it's here. Once it's here and it's built and it's open, what we as a community do with it is what's going to make the difference to tomorrow.
Now, is this mostly a slots barn?
Yes,
can't remember.
it's been cut back down to pretty much electronic gaming.
Electronic gaming, okay.
So but that doesn't
mean... So not
mean...
an entertainment venue, there's still the potential for that at the other end.
Well, and there's a restaurant as well, and there is a component to it. But again, where it starts is not necessarily where it ends.
Okay.
So
that's
to
fair.
Suggest that it started this way, that's great. But again, what we do with it will make the difference. So we could all get upset and say, oh, it's only that. Or we could say, you know what, let's get behind it and help make it become more than...
Yeah, interesting. So I know one candidate's running on literally scrapping everything at Beach One. And it's interesting to hear another perspective. And as I say, my job is the guy sitting at home on the lady sitting at home on the sofa, yelling at the TV, ask him, ask him, ask him.
Absolutely.
So tell me what you think are the next big steps for Wasaga Beach? What do you see the next council doing?
Well, I would hope...
Is it just finishing up everything that's already happened?
No, actually, there's a lot of looking forward we need to do.
Okay.
Right now, the development in our community, in my opinion, is very ad hoc.
Okay.
There doesn't seem to be a real set plan to the way it's moving. I know there is a plan in general, but one of the things I'm very concerned about is we as a community, what do we want to have left in 20 years?
Yeah.
The development's coming really fast.
The old famous, what are we going to look like?
You know, and who are we going to be? Because identity will determine exactly what we can accomplish. And one of the big parts about Wasaga Beach growing is we really have to stay kind of true to who you are. Because when you grow and you develop, if you become too far from who you are as a person, never mind a community, you'll end up in what's called an identity crisis.
Yeah.
You won't know who you are. You'll be like, what am I doing? And that's a very dangerous place for a community to be.
Well, Wasaga Beach really began as a summertime community and has evolved. And my dear old dad always used to say, this area is going to be a four-season resort.
Yes, it will.
And we are there.
We're on the precipice.
We're right there. We're on the cusp.
Yes, we are.
So but we're a four-season resort area from Wasaga Beach to Blue Mountain.
That's right.
And down through Clearview in its own way, too, like that whole southern Georgian Bay.
Certainly.
But each community has its own personality.
Yes, but they intertwine really well together.
Yes. Well, they're not in none of them are in competition. Yeah. You are the water.
They support. We are the mountain.
Blue Mountain has the hills.
Yeah, and Collingwood has the downtown and the really nice. 100%. The balance is nice. And what I'd love to see is more synergy.
Okay.
I'd love to see the communities, you know, festivals that go across multiple communities and that kind of stuff, where we can take I think last check I saw, I think it was $3 or $6 billion across all of them in tourism income. Yeah. I'd like to see that double.
Yeah.
And, you know, working together is a real good way to make that happen.
Well, I know each and every one of the communities has somebody who works in special events.
Yes.
It's a matter of, I guess, creating, you're almost saying, a regional...
Yeah, getting the phone lines open. Yeah. It's just it's really just getting the conversations going. Yeah. You know, there's always been we work on this and we work on this and we work, and that's
this
great.
Is ours, not yours.
Thank you. And you know what? That doesn't just go here. No. That's national too. Yeah. You get protectionism everywhere. But as soon as you realize that the interdependence and that it exists, so acknowledging it first and then growing it, you're definitely guaranteed to create better results than you have now.
It's interesting. We're running out of time already, because that always happens. What would you like to say to the person sitting at home on the sofa as to why they should be voting for Leslie Farkas?
Well, I would have to say that everybody in this election has their visions. We've all got our visions, and you know, I want the beachfront, I want this. Yeah. I would say that I'm the only one who's addressing the shortfalls in the system.
Interesting. Okay.
Where there's the accountability. Let's improve that. Okay. Let's cut that, that closed session down to a legally required minimum.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's change things. One word in code of conduct. Yeah, one tweak makes such a big difference.
Well, I've always felt code of conduct is a living document that should be reviewed and looked at in the same way now that we have provincial pressures as far as communities must be this size by that date and this sort of thing. It's fascinating to watch how it's impacting how municipalities are planning.
It's forcing the decisions.
Come out through me interviewing everybody who wants to be mayor in all the communities. The only one who's kind of safe is Doug Measures down in Clearview. He has been acclaimed. So it's quite interesting. But everybody else, I'm amazed at the numbers that are stepping up to run. And I think it's indicative of what's going on in all the communities.
I'll tell you, when it comes to the mayor race, there's one thing that is really important, I think, for people to understand is that running for mayor was a decision that was not lightly taken. In fact, it can be argued that running for deputy or council would have been a very easy run for me. But after a lot of consultation and a lot of soul searching, I realized that I didn't feel that that would solve the problem that we have in our community that needs addressing, which is a real strong unification.
Okay, so that's a reason to vote for Leslie Farkas.
Absolutely. Let's pull it back together and move Wasaga Beach forward.
Thank you, Les, for joining us. And when we come back after the break, we're going to recap everything.
I will put my trust. Hi, I'm Micah Denbach. Join us on Rogers TV and on Facebook and on YouTube at Clearview Community Church for all of our content. Thank you, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Do you have something to share? Let everyone know about your next meeting, your need for volunteers, or your fundraising event on the Rogers TV Community Billboard. Send us your words and we'll bring them to life on Rogers TV and rogerstv.com. When it's time to spread the word, go to rogerstv.com to add your announcement to the Community Billboard.
Focus better.
Partner better.
Sleep better.
Breathe better.
Love better. Work better. Friend better. Unwind better.
Everything gets better when you get active.
Thank you for joining us this week. And I want to remind everybody, October 24th is voting day, the last voting day. The day you will find out who will be the next mayor of Wasaga Beach. You have choices of Brian Smith, who unfortunately could not be with us for taping, Leslie Farkas, I'm going to be out of order, it should be alphabetical, Giorgio Mameliti, and the current mayor, Nina Bifolchi, is also looking for another term. So the most important thing I always say to people is you can't complain if you don't vote. So you should have received your voting information. You can contact Town Hall to make sure that you are on the voting list. And it is your responsibility to elect the next mayor and council of Wasaga Beach. So please make your mark and make your community better. Thanks for joining us this week.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line. Email us or connect with us on social media.